Hello everyone, Jack Delahy here, founder of collegeconsulting.us, and in today's video, I'm going to keep it short and sweet, but I'm going to be talking about how at larger colleges you can always choose to shrink your world, but at smaller colleges you actually can't choose to do the reverse. It's a lot harder to expand your world. Now if you're like, Jack, what are you talking about? Don't worry, I'm going to use my trusty whiteboard here, go through some examples so you can see. And before we get into it, in no way is this me saying Jack hates small schools. Not at all. In fact, I actually think for many students out there, small liberal arts colleges are the ideal fit. But it's important to understand the pros and cons that come with both small schools and big schools. And in this scenario, I'm going to explain something that my guess is probably you haven't really thought about or dive deep into, and it'll at least just help you help your high schooler build out their eventual school list. So let's get into it. First, let's start with a tiny bit of background. There's a number out there called Dunbar's number. And this was an anthropologist, British anthropologist, who in the 1990s did a bunch of experiments and research and basically determined that we as humans, typically about 150 people is the limit that we have in terms of people that we can have true, meaningful relationships with. And that doesn't matter where you are in the world, it's just the way we've been brought up. We started as like hunter-gatherers in small tribes and obviously have expanded now to where we are in the world today with billions of people on this earth. But still, innately, we typically have about on average only the capacity to have real relationships, strong relationships with about 150 people. Now again, if you're saying, Jack, what does this have to do with college planning? Here's where I'm going with this. On any college campus, it doesn't matter if you go to an 80,000 student school, which I'm actually going to provide an example of in a second, or a 20,000 person school, or yes, a 1,900 kid school, which is like the size of a lot of high schools. At the end of the day, most students on that campus really have the maximum capacity for about 150 relationships. And when you actually subtract the relationships they already have, like high school friends that they want to maintain, family, etc., it really becomes even less than that. Now, where am I going with this? Well, what I want to discuss is the notion of shrinking your world. And so as an example, what I'm going to do right here is I'm actually going to draw an inverted triangle on the whiteboard here. I'm going to use 3 schools as an example. We're actually going to start at the bottom of the triangle. Now, I'm going to use blue to represent Amherst College in Western Massachusetts. And Amherst College, as of today, has about 1,900 undergrads. So let's call it 2,000. I'm going to draw 2 stars for Amherst College. The 2 stars that you see there represent, each star represents 1K. Okay, so about 2,000 students. Now, on Amherst College, college of 2,000 students, you might honestly recognize most people by the end of your 4 years, right? Most people would say, I coach students right now who have high schools that are bigger than this. Red marker we're going to use is Boston College. And as of this time, Boston College has about 15,000, let's call it 16,000 students. So we're going to do 8 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's BC. This is Amherst. Okay. Now I'm not even going to draw all the stars because it would be 40 of them, but I'm going to do this for effect. It's even bigger if I drew all the stars. Okay, picture a bunch of stars in here. And this is Arizona State. Arizona State has, at the time of this, let's see, what is it? I have it on my screen. At the time of this, it has 77,000, yeah, so like 80,000 students. Okay, so here we go. I'll put the numbers in here. Got 80K. We've got 16K. These are averages. And we've got 2K. Now again, believe me, there's a method to my madness here. parents of high schoolers, real quick, and then I'll get you right back to this video. If you are finding value from the video, I have one request, because I'm never going to run ads on these videos, I promise. And so my one way to really share these videos to the masses is to ask you for a favor. Do you mind sharing this with any other high school parents that you know might need help? You can do that by directly sharing, like via, just texting the link to the video, or you can also share on your socials like Instagram or Facebook. It would mean a lot to me. And lastly, if you're really, really getting value and you want to make sure that you're subscribed, you can click the like button, the subscribe button. It'll help the algorithms let you know when my next video is released. Now, back to more value. Here is what I have seen in my 13 years of doing this, working with hundreds of students. When I see students who transfer after freshman year, typically, not always, but typically, it's the student who has gone to a school like this, who realizes that the school is too small and they would love to expand their world, meet new people, but guess what? They have a limit. Capacity. 2K is all the students at the school. You divide that means 500 students in their entire class. And oftentimes, when I see students transfer, it's because they realize after freshman year, you know what? I really would love to be at a bigger school, meet more people, expand my horizons. But this funnel does not work that way. It does not work that way. You can't just one day say, Amherst, please get bigger for me. You can't. This funnel, however, does, in terms of human relationships, work this way. Okay? Let's say you're at Boston College. 16,000 kids. You get there after freshman year and you realize, wow, this is actually a lot bigger than high school. You know what? I kind of realized that I really liked high school for a reason, and I want it to feel more insular, more high school-like. Well, guess what? Dunbar's rule. You really can only know 150 people in your close-knit community, no matter what. That's who you'll have strong relationships with. So very quickly, just with a mindset change, with a social change, you can take a BC, a Boston College that has 16,000 people, and in a couple of mental, emotional, social changes, guess what? Without actually having to transfer to Amherst, you can absolutely make it feel like you're at a 2,000 kid school, right? At the end of the day, you're not going to get to really know in life more than 150 people at a given time, okay? The problem that I've seen oftentimes with smaller school students going is they don't find their 150 person group right off the bat, and so they're looking to expand, which makes sense, right? When you go onto a school, there's a lot of experimentation freshman year. You're meeting your social groups, you're figuring out, and if you somehow, freshman year don't quite find your niche and you're at a small school, you might be out of luck. There's just not enough people to continue that search. You've exhausted exploring the 500 people in your grade and you haven't really found your social fit. You can't expand Amherst. You're on this campus. But at Boston College, right, you have 16,000 people to find your ideally small bubble of people you fit with, which again will never be more than 150 really. And all it takes is once you actually find that crew, you've got your 3, 4, 5 best friends, then you've got a secondary group of pretty good friends, etc., right? You can mentally kind of shift down. And you can say, okay, I've now got my circle. In the back of your mind, there are 16,000 people on Boston College's campus, but really quickly, when you establish that group, you can make it feel smaller, right? You just hang out with your group a little bit more insulated, and very quickly, especially as you get into sophomore, junior, and senior year, where you have the opportunities to choose classrooms with smaller amounts of students, it is super easy. You could go weeks, months at a time, and basically feel like, if you want to, you're on a campus with 2,000 kids. Now, if you don't, great. You're on a campus with 16,000. Go to that Boston College football tailgate, and you will very quickly realize you're on a campus with 16,000, right? The funnel works this way, but it doesn't work backwards. Now, I'm going to get to Arizona State in a second, show you how the funnel can continue to work. But I just want to prove a point here that you can very quickly make it feel like it's a smaller school, but you cannot increase Amherst and make it feel like it's a 16,000 person school. You just can't. Does that mean that I'm saying Amherst isn't a fantastic elite school that's a fit for many, many students out there? No, it is. And I've seen many of my students in 13 years go to very small liberal arts colleges, have the time of their life, right? They find their small niche on day one of people inside this 2,000. 2,000, again, is still a lot more than 150, so you've still got a lot of chances. But socially, right, it's just you have less chances to find that niche than you do here. And I have students who absolutely thrive. But what I will say is the important thing to understand is if this is for you, please make sure that you are the type of student who can thrive in a small school environment. Because if you are not, and you're truly just applying to an Amherst for the academic reputation and not taking this into account, that is a mistake. Because you can get on campus on day one, and if you're the type of kid who needs those Saturday tailgates and to feel like you're in a massive school, I'm sorry, there is truly nothing you can do besides transfer. Now, if you're here and you're saying, okay, how do I know? How does my high schooler understand this? Because this seems pretty important, Jack, and it is. You can go back a couple weeks ago. I made a video called Find the Overlap, the 2 methods to build your perfect school list. I go through exactly in detail how to help your child discover who they are as a person, what kind of campus they might enjoy, and give many tips and resources to do so. So I'm not going to get into that here. Again, in this scenario, though, the reverse is if you go to a BC and you realize on week 2 that you're the type of person who, kind of vibes a little bit better with a small environment, you can go this way. It gives you more flexibility. You can shrink your world, you can expand it. Now for fun here, let's just get into Arizona State. Arizona State has nearly 80,000 undergrads. That's serious, 80,000, so it is at the top of the funnel here. But if you're saying it doesn't work, the whole shrink your world thing, it still does. If you go to Arizona State, 80,000 people. I have a lot of families that say, my student's just going to be overwhelmed and lost, etc. To be honest, I disagree with that sentiment, at least right at the start, before you know. Because all it takes, right, is you're going to go through freshman year and you're ideally going to find your little social circle in your bubble because, again, Dunbar's rule, we really as humans can't possibly know 80,000 people. And in fact, it's way, 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 way smaller than that. It's like 150 people. And so what you can do is once you get that world where you say, this is kind of my sweet spot at Arizona State. This is where I'm a fit. If you want to feel like you're in a little bit of a smaller environment, shrink that world. You can shrink it down to a Boston College level. You can shrink it down to an Amherst level. Seriously, if you want to, you can, with a couple mental, emotional, social changes, make it feel like, even though you're at Arizona State with 80,000 students around you, that you're at a smaller Amherst college. You can. I'll tell you, don't go to the tailgates, okay? Because if you do, you're going to realize you're at a school like this. But it is very easy to be in your own kind of bubble, in your own world, do your own routines, and make it feel like you're on a smaller campus. Now, I will say, in general, right, the goal is to align your school list so that you ideally don't have to do this. If you go through and you have sound methods to choose a school list that involves schools that you know is an ideal fit for you, then ideally you're not having to shrink your world because you actually are on the campus that's kind of the right size for what you want. But if you're one of those students who, like me in high school, said, I have no idea, well, first step, go back, watch the video, find the 2 overlaps. I gave many tips to kind of have more of an idea, tips that I didn't necessarily take when I was in high school. But step 2, understand that if then you're going to err on the side of caution, here, do not err on the side of caution here. Because this is where I see students who don't have an idea, who go here, if they end up erring on the wrong side and all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, I realize I need a bigger school, can't expand your world without transferring. You can't. You must you're on Amherst campus. Sorry, not much more you can do. But again, if you're like, I truly 80,000, 15,000, 2,000, I just don't know, you can build a school list with any of them. I would err on the side of bigger. You can always shrink your world socially. And then especially as you get towards kind of sophomore, junior, senior year, academically, you can absolutely, even on an 80,000 kid campus, you as an upperclassman will get priority class selection, and you can choose to be in smaller classes. You can choose to have a smaller social circle. You can choose to do these things to shrink your world, so it just gives you more flexibility. I'll reiterate one last time. Every year, I have many, many students who apply to the Amherst of the world, go, attend, have an amazing 4 years. But that is because in my program, we put in lots and lots of effort before they apply to actually make sure that a 2,000 kid school is okay for them. When I often get inquiries from students who weren't in my program who say, I'm a freshman, I need help transferring, alarm bells go off and I wonder, is it this scenario? If your student is, talking about smaller schools, etc., go through many of the tactics that I've listed in previous videos, find the overlap, surveys that I give out. I've linked to many, many resources for free to really ensure before your child applies and especially commits that they can handle this, because this is impossible. This is always possible. You can shrink your world. You can't expand your world. Hope this helps. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like it, subscribe. That'll let the algorithms know for future videos so you will get notified. And lastly, if you want to, feel free to write in the comments any future videos you'd like to see from me. I'll read them, I'll take them into account, and I might just use your topic next time. Have a good one.